Hello and welcome to another edition of your favourite podcast, Insane in the Membrane.
Insane in the Membrane.
Greetings, weary travellers. How are you? I hope you're well. We're back once again with the Renegade Master, Rich Wilson, and producer Paul. We've also got our actual guest sitting in while we do this, which is unusual.
Just checking the train times.
Paul Sweeney is our guest this week. The man, the myth, the legend. You would have seen me post about him on the socials and mention him in various places. And basically, I think he became my common law partner for a bit. Yeah, we were quite the married little couple, weren't we?
We were.
Yeah.
Blissful.
It was nice, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, making sure we both ate properly and cleaned our teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could fart in harmony by the end of it, couldn't we?
I think that's how I knew you knew I was awake.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't realise how thin the walls were when...
Like getting woken up by Miles Davis every morning.
Tuning up.
Yeah.
Pop. Yeah. Oh, Richie's up. I put the kettle on. It's like Johnny Briggs.
That's
for the older
reference.
It's for the older.
That's on the cusp of my existence, and I was born in 1982. You're pulling out Johnny Briggs. Now I know the demographic.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
We've gone from being the jilted generation to the last of the summer wine generation.
Yeah, I would have started talking about Some Mothers Do Album if I'd known that this is a direction it was going to go in.
For those fans of Rising Damp.
Yeah.
I've had a bit of trouble.
Oh, Betty. So, I hope everyone's well. I hope you're doing all right. The build-up for Christmas is here. I know. I got the arse because Christmas songs were playing in TK Maxx at end of October. But then suddenly it's like I haven't done anything. Got a Christmas tree, done that, done the tree. We put the tree was in last week's podcast. Yeah, it was in the back, wasn't it? And then Zoe was like, "You've gone early with that, mate." I'm like, "What? No, Christmas
songs in TK Maxx. That's bleak, isn't
it?
Yeah.
It was, yeah. It's one of them when the because the thing is when that happens, you got the Christmas stuff, and then Boxing Day they wiggle out the Easter eggs. You're like, all right, fucking chill out.
I remember like one of my first Christmases being single in my 30s.
Yeah.
And I'd gone to McDonald's after a gig, and I think it was the first year they'd started putting Merry Christmas on the bags.
Oh, right.
I was just like, it's not going to be a Merry Christmas. I'm eating McDonald's on like 3 days before Christmas Eve.
Oh,
and I'm
mate.
on my own.
I remember doing a New Year's Eve in a lay-by. It was actually quite nice. It was nice because I was. Yeah, it was. It was.
How bad have all your other New Year's Eves been that having a New Year's Eve in a lay-by was quite nice?
New Year's Eve is notoriously shit. It's always shit.
I would have gone in darker with that McDonald's story if I know this is where it was going.
It wasn't even in a lay-by. It was in a. It was on a. I tell you where it was. It was on a bend up a country lane.
Dogging?
Yeah, I was dogging on my own. There's me and another bloke with a Christmas hat.
Dogging.
Bit quiet tonight, innit? And no, it was so I'd done a couple of gigs, and then we had a party to get to down in Chatham in Kent.
Bloody hell, it gets better. Doesn't
it?
I'd stay in the lay-by if I were you.
I was with my ex-wife, India. She was my wife at the time. Lovely India. And we were just like, we're not going to make the bells. This is daft. So we ended up like pulling off the motorway and then driving up through these lanes like top speed. I went, I know there's somewhere up high. We'll get up high and we'll see fireworks and things like that. So we pull into this bit by this gate, and then we just sat on the bonnet, and then there was a bottle of Prosecco in the car, so she had a bit of that, and it was, so we toasted in the new year, and then we did that in a lay-by.
It sounds like a Richard Curtis film.
Yeah, it was a bit of that. Yeah. So anyway, I forgot. This isn't the podcast. This is the introduction. Yeah. So thank you to all of our lovely patrons as well for your continued support. Honestly, it doesn't go unnoticed. You are a wonderful bunch of people helping us keep the lights on here at Dark Horse Digital. All the money you give us for the patrons does go back into the podcast. So thanks very much for that. We really appreciate that. Anyway, we've dicked around enough. Coming up in a minute is Paul Sweeney.
A podcast from producer Paul.co.uk.
Insane in the membrane.
We used to play shithead, and you were giddy when you were about to fuck someone over.
Yeah.
I've never seen someone so animated in my life. And then when he'd win, the fucking cackle at the end. He's jumping up and down on the sofa.
Not at all.
Fuck you.
What are you talking about? Making me sound like one of the chimpanzees in the PG Tips commercial, just
That's
jumping
like
up
Ricky
and down.
Gervais. So yeah.
I've pressed record, so...
Yeah, we started all the way.
Oh,
This is
God.
it. Yeah, there's no big introduction, mate. We didn't want you to get red light. Was it red light fever?
Is that what they call
When
it?
he pressed record, and everyone, because everyone's like chatting away, and then like
turn
when
the
you,
red light
yeah,
on.
and they go, oh, when it's when you singers, isn't it? The pressure's on. Before they're recording, like they're all like, yeah, belting it all out, and then the red light goes on, and they turns to shit. Yeah, Beatles. No, Bee Gees, not Beatles. Twat. Yeah, that's like I say, if you weren't, yeah, relentless in your piss taking, especially when you have a partner in it. So like when you and Kate get together.
Oh, yeah.
It's fucking. That's right. Yeah, he's short, isn't he?
I have a real thing for teaming up with my friends' partners to then bully them.
Yeah, it's called bullying, Paul.
Yeah, it's called bullying. It is called bullying, but it comes from a real place of love.
It does.
I
It
don't
does.
bully people I don't like.
No, I
I
know.
haven't got time for them.
No,
And I don't.
worthless people.
Yeah, I only really see people I like as well now. It's the great thing about being 40 is just manage to remove people that I don't like from my life.
Yeah, just see.
It's why I spend a lot of time on my own.
I was going to say, yeah, living in your Spartan flat.
Yeah, but it's quality, not quantity.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, so like reduce the circle, bring them all in.
It's not really a circle though.
It's
you
not.
and your girlfriend and me.
It's a line.
I do worry about you, but then I think it's the same
You should.
with all of us. But it's the same with all of us, isn't it? We have peaks and troughs. We have moments where I think the winter fucks us up. I think we talk about this every year. I think we always forget that fundamentally we're animals. We should be hibernating, but because it's cold and it's damp and it's miserable.
Yeah, don't go out.
No, and we forget, and then we're walking around feeling a bit shit. And go, yeah, because it's winter. And I think that sad is a real thing, like seasonal
affective disorder.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
But
what
I
you-
just-
yeah,
I-
maybe you need a lamp.
But aren't we, like, we're all living organisms. Like, we rely on, like, sunlight, right?
Yeah.
It's like anything. You can call it photosynthesis if you want, or vitamin D. Like, we all need light. We all need light. So when the light isn't there for as long as it normally is,
Yeah.
and it's a lot darker, you feel a lot more solemn, and you don't feel like going out.
No.
You just want to, like you say, you want to hibernate, and just and you want to be warm, and you want to nest. And if you don't have someone to be warm and nest with, then it can be quite lonely, and then that only makes the sad times worse. But then we're far more sociable in good weather and sunshine, and in the summertime, we go out and that's that's when we feel sexy.
Yeah, days. Yeah, I do feel sexy in
You
the
feel sexy
springtime.
in the summertime.
Yeah, I always say that spring's my favourite season because it just feels so full of optimism and possibility.
Maybe you're just more in tune with your natural side, your rhythms, because you've moved to Brighton now, so
Yes.
you're sticking crystals up your bum and that.
Right up my bum. And I'm getting offended on behalf of others.
Yeah.
I'm questioning my sexuality.
Great.
I'm really getting into it. Really getting.
How many dream catchers have you got?
Do you know what I've got a pendant that is a dream catcher that's on a leather necklace, and it's attached to my bedside lamp.
Right.
I've also got a rosary as well, so now I'm making sure I'm covering all bases.
Yeah, that's really nice. Yeah.
when I have my
Just in case Mother Nature lets you down, then you've got God on your side.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
if I have a nightmare, I could roll over and just touch the things.
Yeah.
Make me feel better. Rub the rosary.
Rub the rosary.
Or apologise to it when I've been on my own for too long in my bed.
Run around the room trying to catch dreams. Just swinging your necklace round.
Yeah.
There's got to be a dream in here somewhere. If you don't have a dream, how you gonna have a dream come true? Just singing happy talk to yourself from South
in
Pacific.
My pants.
Kate's like, right, that's the last time I'm going out.
Yeah, you're
not leaving you on your own anymore.
Yeah, you're coming to work with me.
Yeah.
Can't leave you on your own in the flat.
And that's all year round, not just winter. Right?
Yeah, that's not just
every season.
That's the up times, the down times. It's I found I realised I keep getting lost in my own head, and I waste hours. Hours. Like, and Kate would come and she'd go, "What have you been doing?" I go, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
spiralling.
I've seen you do that when we were living together.
Yeah, exactly.
And we'll get up and like have coffee and have a little chat.
Yeah.
In the living room, and then the conversation will end. We'll go off. I'll go do something, and I'll walk past your room, and you're sat on the end of the bed.
Yeah, just miserable.
What are you doing in the dark?
Yeah,
just with the light of your phone on your face. Like, mate, like open the curtains, turn a light on, do something. Like, it's the middle of summer.
I know.
You don't need the blackout blinds down.
Well, you're
not me.
The pair of us were going like, "Have you been out today?"
Yeah,
that was the nice thing.
Yeah.
When we made.
That wasn't even lockdown.
No, that was just after.
Total freedom.
Yeah, like you go, you want, do you want? Have you been out today?
I felt so conditioned, like so easily fell out of my rhythm. As soon, like, I don't want to dwell on the lockdown because I feel like everyone's probably spoken enough about it, but it was amazing how quickly I fell out of all of my good habits.
Yeah,
like everything that I rely on for good mental health. Which is, moderate exercise, not going to the extremes anymore because I've learnt what that does to me. But
cycling from Land's End to John O'Groats or whatever it is, what you did.
I did that for charity though, Rich.
All right, mate, yeah, of course you did. How sad were you then when you did that?
Really sad. Really, really sad, yeah. But it got me out of something.
Yeah, true.
Like,
true.
It did, like, I needed to do something really extreme to combat the extreme of the opposite end of the spectrum. Like the sort of, that's probably one of the darkest points in my life. But then I was fortunate enough to have things put into perspective, and met someone who, through one of the barbershops that I was working at, had come very close to losing his life and was saved by the London's Air Ambulance, was involved in a road traffic accident. He was on his bicycle, guy named Dave Atkinson, who's a lovely human being. He was getting his hair cut and his beard trimmed at the barbershop that I worked at by another barber. And he just always seemed to be about. It was in Covent Garden, and there's a little coffee shop over the road from the barbershop. And he was always around, and I'd sit on the bench in the morning and have a coffee and a cigarette before I started work. And we started chatting, and I was like, what's your deal? You're never working. What are you doing? Some sort of secret millionaire? And he was like, no, I'm not working at the moment because I can't. I was involved in this accident and sort of going through the legal procedures for it at the moment and trying to get money, because he was run over and got caught under the wheel arch. And I'm going to get this wrong, but he fractured a number of his vertebrae and broke a number of his ribs.
Oh my God.
And at the time I was feeling all woe is me because someone that I thought I was in love with had broken up with me, and it all came as a bit of a shock, and I was suffering from the sort of the depression on the other side of that because I thought that person was going to be the person that I spent the rest of my life with. And I'd sort of given up quite a lot of things for that relationship. Not given up, but like compromised a lot of things for that relationship, changed myself quite a lot for the sake of that relationship, and it had gone. And I sort of had a real sense of like a loss of identity, didn't really know what I was doing, if what I was doing was what I wanted to do, or whether it was something that I was doing for the relationship that I was no longer in. Met Dave, and he was like, yeah, so this is it really. And I kind of died at the scene, but then London's Air Ambulance brought me back to life and saved my life. And I was like, fucking hell, I need to sort my shit out, because I'm not dead or nearly dead, and I haven't been brought back to life, and I'm not getting my life back on track after nearly losing my life. And he seems to get up every day and get himself a coffee and get out, even though he can't work at the moment. So what the fuck am I doing? Like, I need to sort my shit out. And I sort of struck up a friendship with him, and we'd chat, and he was very much sort of a therapist for me. You know, we'd just talk about things, and he'd check in with me frequently. And I was like, look, like, if I can do something, would you consider cycling again? Because obviously it was a big traumatic event, but you loved cycling, and this event has taken that away from you. I was like, what if I could prove that I could cycle from one end of this country to the other end of this country safely? Would you ever get back on a bike again? And he was like, yeah, maybe. I was like, well, what if I did it to like raise money for London's Air Ambulance? So I looked into the options and found a company called Discover Adventure who do that exact route, and you can raise money for any given charity. And Dave told me it cost about £3,000 for that journey for London's Air Ambulance to pick him up and take him to a hospital where he received the care and attention that he needed that saved his life. So I was like, cool, well, that's my target then. I'll pay for your helicopter ride, mate. And yeah, raised £3,000, did the ride, had an accident.
I was going to say, didn't you come off?
Yeah, I had an accident on the second day.
So that was the end of that then?
Yeah, that's quite a big accident on day 2. With the first day, obviously they didn't know everyone's riding abilities. So you just we all set off at the same time pretty much, and it was a bit of a muddle, and I was stuck with a couple of people who were struggling on the hills a little bit more than I would, but because we were in that group and we'd sort of made that kind of I don't know, unwritten contract to ride with each other that day, I stuck it out, but I found it more challenging because I was going up the hills slower to stay with the group. And the second day, they'd got an idea of roughly where our cycling abilities were. So I got put into another group of riders, cycled out with them. And one of the guys I was riding with, he was quicker going down the hills because he was a bit bigger than I was. And I was a bit quicker going up the hills because I was a bit lighter than he was. And we were riding over Dartmoor, and it was a bit of a misty day, but there was barely any traffic around, you know. I think we maybe seen like 2 or 3 cars on that stretch of road all day, and we were having a bit of a race up and down the hills. Nothing crazy, not going on the wrong side of the road or being irresponsible like that, but just with one another, you know. He was going much quicker down the hills than I was, much quicker up the hills, and I just decided to bomb it down the next hill and you know, and get ahead of him, and head down, charging down this hill. And I wasn't paying attention to the way that the road was moving, and there was quite a sharp turn off to the left, and I was going way too quick to be able to make the turn. And I had the option of sort of slamming on the brakes because it was damp, I was going to skid, and I was probably going to lose a bit of skin on the tarmac, or I could bid it into the side of Dartmoor where it was soft grass, and I just thought I had a better chance of... And all, it's mad how everything goes in slow motion in those moments. When I was just there and I'm thinking, like, what am I going to do? It's almost like you pause and go, you know, like how they represent it in a film.
You go,
so,
right.
And you sort of go, right, what am I going to do? These are my options. Like I went into my mind palace.
You go, right, I'm going to, either way I'm going to get hurt. What can I do to limit the damage?
Precisely. That was it. It was like a risk assessment. And I was like, well, I've got a lot of tattoos that I don't want to lose. And that was my priority. And also I'll probably bust up the bike as well, and I don't have a spare bike. So it's like, this way, if I bin it into the side of Dartmoor, the bike might be all right, I might buckle a wheel or something, but I will definitely keep my tattoos. So I binned it into the side of Dartmoor, and I just sort of unclipped because I was clipped into the bike, jumped off the bike in a spectacular fashion, I imagine. Sort of James Bond-esque.
You know. Not like a bag of laundry getting chucked out the back of a van.
Came off the bike, landed really heavily on my right side, and was like, it knocked the wind out of me. I was going far too fast, and
you must have been pelting along if you couldn't stop.
Think, like, when I was because I had a little speed gauge on attached to my bike, and I was doing about 40 at fastest, but I definitely slowed down in that time that I'd seen the corner.
Yeah.
So let's say, maybe about 28, 30 miles an hour.
Jesus
something
Christ.
like that. And but then obviously the grass, like going into darkness, that would have slowed me down as well. So it wasn't like the full impact of that speed, but it really winded me. The bike was a little way away from me, and I was lying on my back, surrounded by quite tall grass as well, and moss and stuff. And there's no other riders about, like no one can see me. No one saw me come off. So I managed to get myself up on my side and put my arm up in the air and just start shouting, because I knew there were another group of cyclists coming along. And luckily, some guys saw me, helped me over to the other side of the road, and we called.
Oh my God!
They called so we had like cars that were out with us that were carrying a lot of our stuff. These vans. So they called those guys over, and then they called the ambulance, and I got taken off to the hospital. Missed sort of half a day's riding.
Result?
Result. And got checked out, and they said that I had some soft tissue damage to like my lower spine, some heavy bruising around my right shoulder, and then I'd bruised my intercostals, like in between my rib cage. So that area was quite weak, and they said I had to keep an eye on it because that area was weak. There was a chance that if I received like a light impact or anything, I might crack some ribs. So I just had to be really careful. I was in a lot of pain, but they gave me a lot of painkillers. Went back to the hotel, rested for the night. The doctors said, look, we're going to advise that you don't get back on the bike, but we've got a funny feeling that you're probably going to do that anyway. But we just want you to be sensible, assess the situation, and take it easy if you do. So the next morning I got up and I got on the bike and I cycled around the car park at the hotel. I was like, actually, you know what? I feel more comfortable on the bike than I do standing up or sitting down. And maybe with the blood flow and things like that, I'll be all right with the painkillers. And they put me out with a group of riders that had to basically sort of surround me and keep an eye on me. But ended up riding the rest of it, another 800 miles, I think.
Bloody hell.
And it was on the penultimate day. We were up in Thurso in Scotland, sat in a cafe, and I sneezed. And I felt my ribs.
No.
I cracked my ribs sneezing in the cafe
on the
penultimate day. I sneezed, got this excruciating pain in my rib cage. I was like, what the fuck is that? I was like, oh. And then I was like, I think I'm all right. I think I'm okay. I just think like, I didn't know what I'd done. And it wasn't until I got back home, basically. So rode that last day because I'm still on painkillers, and then had to go for another checkup when I got back to Essex, because I was living with my parents at the time. Went and got another checkup, and they were like, yeah, you've, like, not massive, but enough. You've cracked your ribs there. And it was like felt like having someone had put a tennis ball or a squash ball under my rib cage. A really weird feeling. You just can't get comfortable.
No.
Yeah, really odd feeling.
I remember I inadvertently cracked my dad's rib.
Ooh, inadvertently.
It was when I was 19, so I was still living there, and I had a load of pictures in the back of my door pinned in, and it was late at night, and I didn't realise I was making a noise, and I've got scissors and I'm picking the pins out on the door, and Dad's in bed because he's got work, and he just came flying in the bedroom. And he's gone, what the fuck are you doing? What is that noise? He's tap, 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 tap. Because I've got to get up for work tomorrow. And he sort of came at me, and I went, fuck. And I put my head down. Yeah. And kind of like, it was like a rugby tackle thing. Yeah. Where and he's like, and I went, fuck. And put my head down and went at it. We sort of bumped into each other. Yeah. And I cracked his rib.
Wow.
Yeah, and I felt really bad.
Yeah,
and then Mum said the next day, yeah, you cracked Dad's rib, he's not happy. I'm like,
oh. He's not. You cracked his rib. Not like you've broken his favourite mug. He's not happy.
Yeah. And I went, oh shit, so sorry. It just made me jump because he came in the room. Yeah. And just, and I was, So, and he said it's like, there's nothing you can do.
No, you can't do anything.
No.
They can't strap you up or wrap you up or anything. And I had to go back to work. I think I had maybe like 2 days before I went back to work.
Wow, didn't you? It's such a ledge.
You're
doing it for
it's a really
charity.
stupid thing to do. And what crossed my mind in the hospital was, this is another classic case of you fucking something up.
Yeah.
You know, like as much as I can sort of talk about it now, joke about it as well, because it is such a stupid thing to do. Like, you're raising money for London's air ambulance. They saved your mate. You're supposed to be proving to him that cycling has saved him.
Yeah.
And but in the hospital, just this overwhelming disappointment. I was like, I've let everyone down.
Right.
You know, if I've fractured anything or broken anything, because I was an accident-prone kid as well, so I'm sort of frighteningly aware of how easy it is for me to break myself. Like first ever time I remember doing like any serious damage to myself, I'd got given either for my birthday or for Christmas some of these Fisher-Price roller skates. Right. I was really young. I was probably like 4.
The extendable ones that you can adjust them. Adjustable, sorry.
You put them over your shoes and they'd click into place depending on the size of your feet. And they also had on the bottom, there was this tiny little, almost like an on-off switch. Like really old school switch. And it had 3 settings on it. So it was either free rolling, like completely rolling, and then in the centre it would click, like staggered rolling, so you could kind of walk and skate. And then there was no rolling whatsoever, so you could just walk in them. And I think the idea is you take yourself through the stages, so you can learn, you get the confidence to then be able to roller skate. And my dad had been showing we'd worked my grandparents, and they had like quite a nice big driveway, and my dad had been showing my granddad how they work these. Paul's new toy, you know, and I think he'd left one on fully rolling and the other one was like completely off. And I'd gone out on the driveway to show everyone how good I was at roller skating, and one foot went and the other one didn't. And I don't know how, but I threw my left arm sort of behind myself, maybe to stop myself. But what happened was the full weight of my upper body landed on my forearm, and I broke both of the bones in my forearm. And classic, like, kind of old-fashioned dad move. My dad was, and probably to put myself in his place, there's probably a bit of fear involved in it as well, of not wanting to acknowledge the fact that your child has just broken themselves in front of your parents as well. Like, can you imagine? Like my
it was your fault.
Yeah. Well, he was just like, no, he'll be fine. He'll be fine. There's nothing wrong with him. Oh, come on, up you get. There's nothing wrong with him. But the panic that must have been going through, because my memory of it is, Dad didn't care about me. But I'm sure his experience in that moment is, I have just broken my second child in front of my parents. Like, please don't be anything
don't
serious.
Be disappointed.
Yeah. God, and we ended up going to Basildon Hospital, and it turned out I'd broken both bones in my left arm, and I got cast up, and but I was happy as Larry, because I had a plaster cast, and it meant I got to draw on it, and all of my friends at school got to sign it, and stick like honey nut loops, transferables all over it. Yeah. It's probably where my obsession with tattoos started. Just being able to draw,
covering
myself.
Up your scars.
But so that, like, being accident prone, and then being in the hospital, and I'm like, I did that ride, I was 34. Like, you're an adult. You don't do, we're conditioned to think you don't do stupid things. You're not irresponsible as an adult, but you are just human as well.
You are just human, and I think there is still an element of you still being quite immature at that age, really.
Still quite immature at this age. So
and I think it's changing. It's changing, isn't it? It's I'm 50 and I don't feel that I'll be slowing down anytime soon. Like, everyone's going, you start slowing down and you don't do this, that. Like, I played football the other day. I was running around like a
legend,
having a great one. So I think it's all, maybe it's a state of mind. I don't know. What did Dave say? Because you're supposed to show him how safe it is to cycle the entire length of the country.
Yeah, needless to say, he didn't jump straight on a bicycle as soon as I returned. I had this bit, again, like things never panning out the way you want them to, and maybe it's part of being a creative and having a creative mind. I had this idea in my head that we'd cycle the last 10 miles together, and we'd ride down to the John O'Groats sign, like holding hands, and everyone would be there, and it'd be a perfect ending to the perfect movie in my mind. But because it was all the way up in John O'Groats and other people have their own lives, it was my parents there with the dogs, which was also really lovely. And there'd been a lot of like ups and downs throughout the ride, and we did it in just over 10 days.
Yeah,
about 10 and a half days. And they were long ride days, and with the crash and sort of getting up every day, not knowing 100% whether I was going to feel all right getting back on the bike.
Yeah.
And also just kind of fearful about having another accident, riding far more cautiously than I would do. Not that I'm an unsafe cyclist. Like, that was an isolated incident. I did something stupid. I was feeling overly confident, and it's first time riding with other people of a similar ability to me, because I'd done so much of the training was on my own, just going out and cycling, getting the job done. Suddenly I was having fun with people, and I got carried away. But yeah, we cycled. The last day was just 30 miles, which for us, because of how long the rides have been on previous days, I think 90, maybe 100 miles was one of our longest days, possibly.
Yeah, wow. Yeah.
And so 30 was like a stroll in the park.
Yeah.
And you see the signposts for when you're getting close to John O'Groats, and it's sort of a long road. And I was thinking, I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep it together. I think I might start crying. I might just be ugly crying all the way in. And then people taking photos.
Snot down your cheek.
We're such a great time. But I wasn't. No. It was really weird, because I'm quite an emotional person. It doesn't take a lot for me to cry.
Yeah.
Like, I can work myself up quite easily a lot of the time. But weirdly, in those big sort of emotional situations, when you fully expect you're going to lose it, I was so calm, and I was just and just sort of cycled in and saw my mum and dad, and I thought maybe that was going to set me off, seeing them there, but it didn't. And then I did my pose at John O'Groats, sort of shaking the bike above my head and feeling strong and like I'd accomplished something. Yeah. And it was more feeling of something that I think I haven't felt that often, is pride.
Yeah,
Yeah, and just feeling like I did something against all odds, and I very nearly messed it up for myself as well, like I always do. But I carried on, and I just had this amazing sort of sense of pride. And it wasn't until all of that subsided, everyone had sort of gone off, because a lot of the cyclists were then going back to the hotel, but I was going back to a hotel to stay with my parents, and we were going to drive back home the next day. And we sat in the cafe down there, and it's been a sort of good hour after we've arrived there, and I went to take a sip out of my coffee and just went. And I was like, "Oh, you all right?" I'm like, "Don't touch me!"
Yeah. Oh mate.
Yeah, weird. Like it just like out of nowhere. I was like, "Why? Why then? Why not the bride in, mum and dad there? The music playing in my head of like."
I guess your brain needed a moment. Yeah, you got the big.
Yeah, the old like X
ticker tape parade.
Fucking Snow Patrol.
That's
going.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think maybe your brain just needed a moment to kind of comprehend what you'd done.
Yeah.
And then it kind of went, and then you had that moment where you're now relaxed. Mm-hmm. You're having a coffee or whatever you're doing, and it's suddenly like, and then it's like, oh yeah, now's the time.
Yeah. It's that, I think the adrenaline.
That's it. Yeah.
Just goes.
Yeah.
And then also like, just a very weird feeling after that of going back to normal.
I've got to cycle back.
Cycle all the way back to Essex. Shit. I had really uncomfortable car ride back. Because I'd run out of all of the painkillers they'd given me. Shit. So then I was just back on boring old paracetamol
yeah.
and Nurofen, and it wasn't touching the sides at all.
No.
So, kind of back into normal life. So Dave didn't get back on a bike straight away.
No.
But he does cycle now.
Okay.
But he ended up running the London Marathon a few years after I'd done the bike ride, and we went down to see him, and then we all went out for like a Sunday roast afterwards. And that was sort of the icing on the cake. And he ran it for London's Air Ambulance, and he ended up actually working with them as well. And because obviously, it was a miracle that they managed to save his life. It wasn't a miracle. It was down to their graft, their skill set, and the money that people contribute through doing ridiculous things like cycling from Land's End to John O'Groats or running the London Marathon, because they're not government funded.
Well, this is the thing, I find that baffling.
Yeah.
Why something like that that's really crucial. Yeah. And it's saved so many lives.
And they also have members on their team that are trained to use equipment that the NHS don't have access to as well. I mean, this is a little while ago, so things might have changed now, so don't quote me on that, even though this is going on a podcast. But, at the time, to my knowledge, they're an incredible resource.
Yeah.
Like,
I think that's.
It's amazing what they do.
I think people that want to be nurses and things like that, because I didn't realise you have to pay to train to be a nurse. I didn't know that.
Mad.
And so those people are very special to go, I want to be a nurse, I want to help people, and I'm going to pay to do it. It blew my mind. It was Max Stellingworth who we had on, and his wife is a nurse. Yeah. And he was telling us about it, and you're like, I had no idea. You can't just train. Yeah. So at the minute, they're going on strike, and they go, absolutely, they should be paid more than footballers, but they're not. They just get treated like absolute shit. All people in the rescue services, frontline workers, throughout the pandemic. But that, case in point, throughout the pandemic, they were dealing with the actual thing on the front line, dealing with the virus, and then when it all finished, they didn't get a pay rise, but fucking politicians did. Like, you absolute shower of bastards. Yeah. And it's. But I mean, I don't want to get into politics now. I'll get carried away. But going back to cycling, people don't realise how difficult cycling is. It's all very well, like when you're pottering around town, like when I was in with you and we got my bike fixed, and then I was riding around, and you and I will say that when you and I went for rides, you didn't half go. Like when you walk as well, you go everywhere at a million miles an hour. I'm not surprised you fell off. Yeah. So
this is this comes up a lot. About my general.
You walk around like a crackhead. Is what you walk around like. I'm like, where are you going? We're going to the same place.
Because I was always late for school, and I think that set my rhythm. Yeah, like it's a manic rhythm.
The amount of times I've had to say to you, Sweens, mate.
Kaylee says it to me, or my fiance says it to me all the time. She's like, "Do you want to walk with me?" She lives out in New York, and I think the first few times I went out there, she's like, "You're walking like we've had an argument." Yeah.
What are you late for?
Paces in front of me. I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, I haven't been in a relationship for a really long time, so I'm not used to walking with someone I actually want to walk with. Yeah. I'm normally just walking on my own and trying to get away from myself. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, I'm on the run. Forrest Gump.
But he's still here.
That boy's a running fool.
Yeah. Yeah, I do have a weird pace on me.
It is a weird pace. I've not walked with someone like that.
Because I'm not tall.
No.
And, like, I don't really feel like I look athletic in any way, shape or form. But if they brought back speed walking, Olympic gold...
You'd look good doing that, actually.
Yeah, I think so. Bring back speed walking, please.
But people don't realise... So there was... When I was working at SOS Clothing... And I had this I had a mad idea that I didn't have my car, couldn't afford the train or something. I'm like, I'm going to cycle from
Southend.
From Stratford to Leigh-on-Sea.
Yes, of course, because you were living with me when you were working there still.
That's it.
Yeah.
And I went, yeah, cycle it. And I checked it on the map, and it said 2.5 hours. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, that's going to be at least 3. That's what I do in my head.
Yeah.
It took me 4 hours.
I remember you.
And I got to a point. I was down the one, was it the 127 or whatever it is, the road, and I'm just outside.
A127.
Yeah, and I'm just outside Rayleigh.
Right.
And I just stood there, going, I can't.
There's a big hill there, isn't there?
Yeah, and there's a junction that goes off, and you go through
By
Thundersley and all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to that, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. My arsehole was falling out. I'd wrap my coat around my saddle because my bum was so sore. And I'm like, I cannot physically do this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it took me 4 hours. And then I got there and I'd rung everyone and went, look, you won't believe what I've done. But I'm going to be about an hour late. I'll be there. So I left the flat at like 7:30.
Yeah.
So then... And I remember taking a picture across Canary Wharf because it was all like red in the sun, in the morning sun. It was beautiful, really early.
Yeah.
And then I put something like "New Beginnings" or something like that. What a wanker!
You got it printed out and you stuck it on your fridge next to your live, laugh, love.
Yeah,
fridge magnet.
Fridge magnet philosophy, as Zoe said last week. And I got there, and Mark and Stacey were like, "What have you done?" Yeah. I went, I've just cycled from Stratford, and they went, "You fucking idiot!"
What were you thinking?
So
in jeans as well.
Yeah.
Because you go everywhere.
Oh no!
In jeans.
No! I didn't. I had shorts on. Yeah. But I went through Barking and all around that way.
Yeah.
You don't realise how it is quite hilly going out that way.
Padded shorts. Did you have?
Yeah, I did actually.
You did have padded shorts.
Yeah, they were like spinning. There were spinning ones.
Spin shorts.
Yeah. Underneath my tracksuit bottoms.
When I was doing.
Yeah, you don't realise it's fucking hard.
When I was doing the Land's End to John O'Groats, after maybe like day 3 or 4, I was really suffering. There's people that cycle will know about this, people that won't, I guess. There's stuff called chamois cream, which is basically a lubricant that you put...
On your gooch?
Like downstairs to stop friction and to stop...
In the kitchen? No.
Yeah. You put it in your kitchen.
It's a Sarah Millican joke.
Yeah.
I want you to go downstairs. The kitchen?
Yeah. And it just means that you stop the chafing. So you put that on the padding of the shorts and then also on yourself as well. And I had some for the ride they're like sachet packets of like mayonnaise almost. Like
really? Like handy use.
Yeah, you keep them in the pouch in the back of your jersey, and then you can just on the go reapply if you need to.
What? Or just squirt it down your pants?
Yeah, just squirt it into your hand and then it's great,
rub your...
And there was one day, so I was suffering quite a bit. So I was I'd over applied.
Okay.
And I was cycling with this other young lad, Ollie, who must have been in his early 20s. And we're cycling along, and I had a bit of wind.
Right.
There's also like all the energy gels and things like that. They do things to your guts, and and I farted. I'd forgotten how much.
A lot of bubbles came out.
I forgot how much of the chamois cream I'd applied. I was like, "Oh, Ollie, we're gonna have to pull over. I think I shit myself."
You just made a foam.
Yeah, we stopped, pulled over, and he was like, "Do you want to do a check?" So I popped my hand down the back of my shorts. I was like, "Oh, it's all right. It's chamois cream. It's fine. We can carry on. We can carry on."
I have overlubed.
Yeah, I thought I'd messed myself. I'd done a mess. Yeah.
I remember doing the 3 Peaks challenge. Would be 20 years ago now, and we barely trained, stupidly.
Right.
Like me and my mate Ian, who booked it all, we would run up and down this hill. We did that about 5 times. Went to the gym briefly. We genuinely underestimated how much you need to train.
Yeah.
And then so we started at Ben Nevis. So we get up there the night before. Ian's dad's driving the minibus, so we don't have to worry about that. We have a good breakfast in the morning and then we're off. And then half an hour into Ben Nevis, I'm puking because I let my breakfast go down, and I didn't realise it's so straight away.
Yeah.
And that's half an hour in to a 24-hour challenge. I'm like, oh my God. So we get to Ben Nevis, do that, and then we were in the minibus going to Scafell Pike. And then we pulled over and we had lunch, and then we spent far too. We just forgot because we were all sitting in a labour having a laugh.
Yeah.
And went, shit, we should be going. We were on just a challenge.
Yeah.
we do Scafell Pike. Scafell Pike is mainly the beginning of it. It's like an hour of steps. It's like steps.
Right.
I was doing that. Then we went the wrong way when we got to the top. Went down the wrong side.
How can you go the wrong way up the hill?
We just went. That's a great big mountain. That's the thing as well. You're going up, and
Sorry,
they go.
I belittled that. I said hill.
Yeah. It's a mountain. Thank you. But when you go, oh, must be it. They go, oh no, that's it over there.
You go. The sky's getting closer. I'm going in the right direction. The ground's getting closer, lads. We're going the wrong way.
Yeah. No, we went. It got misty. We
Right.
got talking to another party that were doing it as well. And then we all kind of
Can't
went.
call it a party, mate.
No,
It doesn't sound fun.
Another party.
Yeah. They had the streamers out.
The balloons are a bit much, lads. Take your rubbish with you. So we got chatting to them, and then we went our separate ways, and we all went, yeah, see you later, lads, good luck. Not thinking that we should have probably gone the same direction as them.
Right.
And we've gone down the back of it. So we're halfway down. We're like, we didn't come up this way. This is our mountain climbing, and we had to come all the way back up again. So that was another hour. And then we're coming back down, and then I'm in the minibus, and we got to Snowdon at 4 a.m. It was pitch black, and I was like, I'm not doing it. I can't do it.
Yeah.
And they dragged me out, and we went walking down the pig track and whatever it is, and then I'm walking around there's like the lake at the bottom before you make you get up the side of Snowdon.
Right.
And my legs just started to wobble, and I just didn't know what to do. I was like, I'm in real trouble here.
Yeah.
And they gave me a banana. And I couldn't believe it. Instantly. Bang! I was better.
Yeah.
I should have eaten it. I shouldn't have shoved it up my arse. But yeah, bananas are magic.
Yeah, you ever seen a chimp with wobbly legs?
No, funnily enough.
Yeah, there you go then.
But the instant
bananas.
hit, it's like fucking whoosh.
There's a real... because like we couldn't carry bananas with us because they get squashed in your
arse.
in your shorts.
Yeah.
And squash my banana. We'd have the little gel packets, and then every sort of 30 to 40 miles there'd be a refreshment stop set up for us as well. So even though they were long riding days, there were breaks.
Oh, so it's a proper setup then. You've got support people, and
wouldn't have done it any other way.
You can't just go and do it.
I mean, you can. I think you'd be mad to, and I wouldn't advise doing it on your own. I'd say always do it through a group like that, because it's a much more enjoyable experience. I trained really hard.
Yeah,
for
right.
it, really hard. It's
Yeah, you
the
were pretty
hardest-
ripped at that point.
I was in the best shape of my
Yeah.
life. Yeah. But I was going to the gym. I had a personal trainer, and I was going to the gym 5 times a week. I was probably cycling about 150 miles a week, and then I was doing a spin class once a week as well.
You were properly Ned Flanders, because you had the big moustache as well.
To begin with,
Yeah, and you had the
I
ripped.
shaved it off.
Yeah, aerodynamics.
No, it was. So I'd started the cycling training in the winter. So probably about this time of year, like November, December time, with the moustache, and that was fine. It would just get a bit frosty, and I was like, it's all right. It's still part of my aesthetic. I'm not getting rid of it. And then cycling into the springtime, when all of those, the big black like mayflies.
Oh yeah.
Because I was living out with my parents in Essex, so I'm cycling the Essex countryside. I was cycling along, and one of them flew into my moustache and got stuck. I had a panic. Fell only like a little fall, like into a ditch on the side of the road. Got home, shaved it off. I was like, that's coming off. That's not happening ever again. Like one of the like just a big old bug just flapping around. Like, I was like, get off me!
It's in my face.
Yeah. Big tough guy, big strong muscles.
Yeah. It's in my face.
Tiny little fly, just boom like that. Panic attack. Tash came off.
Did you feel it helped after? Because you were in a. We won't go into what it was, but I know, and I know how bad it was. What had happened, and then you did that. Did you think it helped?
I do think it helped, but I think what helped more was the people I was fortunate enough to be around at the time.
Yeah.
The exercise and things like that was a great distraction for me. It was good for me to put a lot of time and energy into myself, because I joke about it in my set. It's the whole my gym material.
Yeah.
talk about not feeling confident enough in yourself and thinking that maybe if I make myself physically stronger, I'll feel mentally stronger, feel more confident in my appearance, then I'll feel more confident in my head.
Yeah.
But I don't think the two. I think there's an element of it where you start to feel like I'm investing in myself and this is positive, but it doesn't solve anything. But doing what I did and the friendship that I got, the relationship I got from Dave, the relationship I have still with Emma, my boss at the barbershop, who was a huge support throughout all of that as well, and really, really encouraging, and gave me the time off from work to do it. And I switched jobs. So the barbershop that I was at when I first met Dave, I was working full time there, and there was no flexibility. And I started working there when I was in the relationship that broke down, and I started working there because of that relationship as well, because I needed a stable income.
Well, you kind of knocked comedy on the head and everything. You kind of went all in with the relationship, and then when it got when it was fucked, it wasn't even, and it's not your fault that it got fucked. That's the thing. That's the most frustrating bit. You put so much into it.
Yeah, it was interesting. I think I started doing stand-up in 2008. That was my first ever gig, Halloween 2008 at Dirty Dick's in Liverpool Street.
Okay.
So
I know. Yeah.
It's a charity gig set up by a bunch of people that I was working with at the time at like a tourist attraction in London Bridge. And that's where I met Jess Foster-Q and Sarah Pascoe as well. They were both working there. And I was writing little bits and kind of doing sketches, and I'd written and filmed and produced a pilot for a comedy that I wanted to try and get out there. And it was Jess Foster-Q that had sort of said to me, well, like, if you, the route to sort of get noticed is doing stand-up, and that's what her and Sarah were doing at the time, and they were running little gigs together and co-hosting and you know, and sort of building up their material and their stage time. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. Well, then I'll start doing that. And the group of actors and performers that I was working with, they'd arranged a charity night, and they booked me to do like 5 minutes. I ended up doing 10 because it was going so well. I was in front of such a supportive crowd, and the material probably wasn't the best material I've ever written, but like I knew at the very least I could entertain people. So that went really well. That boosted my confidence, and then I did a bunch of new act competitions the following year, 2009. One of which was Laughing Horse, who run free fringe venues up in Edinburgh. And Alex, I think I got to the semi-finals, and Alex said to me, look, we've got this new venue, Canal Cafe. We've got a couple of spots. It's like a 2-week gap. Do you want it? And everyone else I knew, Jess and the other comics, were all going up. I was green, really, really green, but went up and did it, and it was torturous. It was horrible. I wasn't eating. I'd suffer so much from like pre-performance nerves and performance anxiety. I'm still like it now.
Yeah, you were like that at Tom Drills the other week. You were shitting yourself, and you're like,
I really
come on,
do.
man.
I hate it. It's like I said to you, it's before I'm on stage and after I've been on stage, I really, really struggle with. But being on stage, I just love it. So I'm willing to put up with what my body and my mind put me through to be in that position, because as soon as I get there, it's like someone hits a switch and it just all goes. It's like a sort of almost like a opposite ends of the spectrum. I'm so comfortable there and I love it so much, which is why I keep doing it to myself. But I was riddled with nerves in Edinburgh, and I wasn't eating, I wasn't taking care of myself, I wasn't hydrating, I wasn't eating enough food, and I was doing a half-hour show, but I had an hour slot, and I'd have other comics come in to help me fill the hour. And it was Luke Tolson who said to me, "You look like shit. Are you eating? Really? Are you drinking? Like, what's going on?" I'm shaking because I'm drinking so much caffeine, which is making me more anxious. But at the time, I was really riding that sort of nervous energy on stage. So I felt like I was fueling it. And he said to me, like, promise me after this, go and get a jacket potato, start eating and start drinking water. Because I wasn't drinking alcohol or anything like that at the time. I was sober. So I was under no other influence other than like my own nerves and caffeine, basically, and tobacco, nicotine as well.
Jesus.
Chain smoking. Had a really horrible time. 2.5 weeks. I think I stayed up there for. Did the show for 2 weeks and then did spots. Spots I loved, but doing my show I really, really struggled with because I just didn't know what I was doing. Really. But I came back and I felt bulletproof. Suddenly, after all of that, I came back and started doing 10s in London. Just like, what's going on? And it's because you're playing an environment where the room's been warmed up by an MC and you're on the bill with other acts. You know, you're not just doing it all on your own. And I came back, I was like, oh, I see the value in this now. I don't want to put myself through that again, but I see why people do it.
Yeah.
And that built and built and built. And I went back up the following year. Then I got picked up by an agent who then started pushing me out. And, you know, the profile of the gigs increased. And I was also working on other things and had filmed a music video for one of the comedy songs that I was doing that gotten a decent amount of attention at the time. And I got interest from Lisa Thomas management, who were bigger than the agent I was with. Yeah. And I'd been with the previous agent, John Briley, for about 6 months, I think. But I was sort of very focused on my career at the time. I was like, I wouldn't say like I was a complete alternative act, but I was definitely not mainstream. And I thought maybe being with like a big agency and being like this and looking at people that I really admired, like Eddie Izzard and Harry Hill and people like that, I was like, well, they're with agencies that manage mainstream acts because maybe you need a little bit of that. So I signed with Lisa Thomas, left John Briley, and was with them for about 2 years, I think. Yeah. And then through being represented by them, I met my girlfriend at the time, who was a voiceover agent, and they were affiliated with Lisa Thomas. So we had to keep things quiet for a little while, but then she left that agency and moved on. And, you know, we were dating for a while, but I was away a lot, gigging all the time, and I don't think she liked how much I was away. No. And maybe wanted something a bit more grounded. Yeah. But I was very focused on my career, and maybe about 6 months into our relationship, I said, "Look, like, I don't know if this is going to work. Then, maybe we should go our separate ways." Like, you know, and I went back on that instinct. Yeah. Because she was really upset, and that really upset me that I'd upset someone. Yeah. Because I don't like that. No. And that was the instinct I sort of went back into the relationship with, which was like, I don't ever want to upset you. And at that point, you're then subservient to someone, which is a really dangerous position to be in, because my instincts were to leave that relationship. Yeah. And that's what I should have done, because I was happy doing what I was doing. Yeah. And I put a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of energy into doing what I was doing. Yeah. And you liked her, but I liked her, but it, like, my instincts were, I wasn't prepared to stop doing what I was doing for the relationship. But then I went back on that instinct and went back into the relationship. And just coincidentally, things started to sort of not go as well comedically, through no fault of my own. Got dropped. She carried on being an agent, but only repping sort of the top. Oh, right, okay. But got rid of... So sort of streamlined it. Yeah, streamlined, got rid of a lot of the acts that they'd taken on that had only been with them for sort of 2 years or less, because they were obviously investing quite a lot in us. Yeah. But actually, the top 5 acts that they had were making them loads of money, and I guess it made good business sense to just get rid of us, let us go, because they didn't want the agency to be that big. No. Because she was having to employ other agents to represent us as well. Right, yeah. So it sort of expanded really quickly.
Now, it must be difficult to take when you get dropped by your agent.
It would have been easier to take if they'd have been honest.
Right.
If they'd have actually said, we've expanded too quickly.
Yeah.
This doesn't make good business sense, but what we're going to do is put a showcase on for all of you and invite other agents. Almost put you out to tender.
Yeah,
so that people can then come and reinvest in you.
Yeah.
But what happened was I was fed the line of, look, we've tried a lot of options in TV and people aren't biting, and we feel like we can't take things any further with you.
Yeah.
And I read that as, well, if people in TV aren't interested when I'm with an agency like you, then where's my future? Because if I can't get on TV, then I can't get myself up the billing on the live circuit to be able to make a really comfortable living out of this.
Yeah.
So why the fuck am I doing this? Because I don't want to live uncomfortably doing something I love and grow to resent it because I don't have the life that I want outside of it.
Yeah. And so you stopped. So that was then.
Yeah, I sort of fulfilled my contractual obligations with the gigs that they'd booked me, but then after that, I really started to wind things down. And started to look for alternatives. And I'd been giving mates haircuts for as long as I'd been living in shared households in London.
Yeah.
Just a fun thing to do. I bought some cheap clippers, and and my girlfriend at the time was an agent. And she was quite instrumental in convincing me to step away from comedy. Maybe this is it, And I was 30 at the time. It was 10 years ago. So I was 30, and I was having that kind of crisis that you have when you reach the end of a decade, any decade.
Yep.
I was like, maybe this isn't for me. Then maybe I need to stop doing this, and maybe I need to start doing something else. And also got sent a long list of my creative output that I'd come up with, that I was told that for as long as I was going to continue with those creative projects, they still would get a percentage of whatever they made. Yeah. So my response to that was like, tear everything up, don't touch any of that ever again. It's all gone. You've got nothing now.
Shit, man.
You've got nothing. You've got to start again.
And then you went into barbering, and then you went into and the relationship went to shit.
Went into barbering, relationship went to shit about a month and a half after we'd moved in together, and it was a really messy end. And left me very heartbroken, and and then it was a matter of sort of slowly building myself back up again. And that's when I left the barber shop that I was working at when I met Dave. I met Emma, who ran a barber shop round the corner. She said to me, you can come and work for me as much or as little as you want to until you feel like your mental health is in a place where you can work more. She was incredible. A really difficult time in my life. I'd moved back in with my parents. I was still paying rent on the flat that we'd only been living in for a month and a half, whilst also paying like £400 a month travel, getting in from Essex to work in London.
I did that for a bit when I left Leon C. I was still paying half the rent, and I'm like, what am I doing?
And there were other things as well. I won't go into details, but it was a real shit show. And I'd started.
You all right, mate? It's all right. You're right. It's a difficult one.
Yeah, it still is.
Yeah, we haven't. Yeah, I think it's. I know with what happened with me, it's very similar to what happened to me, and I was just left with nothing. Yeah. And it was only because you said, "Just come here, get your stuff, come here." And because I remember we had this massive Barney, and I just shoved all that stuff in the car, and I went, "Oh, fucking going! I just can't handle this anymore." And I just remember driving. I drove back to Orpington, where I grew up. So that was a sign. You always go back to what you're familiar with. So I think I went to Mum's and had a cup of tea with her, and then I was just like, and then I couldn't sit there anymore. I'm like, I need to go and do something else. I got to go, Mum. And I remember just I was sat in a Wimpy, or whatever it is, on the burger place on Orpington High Street. I'm like, I don't fucking know what I'm going to do. Yeah. And just messaged you, and you went, yeah, just come here, mate. Doesn't matter. Come on. And then I went,
know what it feels like.
Yeah, and you went, oh, by the way, I haven't got any bed in. So I was like, so I went Tesco's, I got some cheap bed in, and I remember putting the bed in together, putting the duvet in the thing, and I suddenly felt so many emotions.
Yeah.
I felt kind of relief that I was out of the shit that had been going on.
Yeah.
I felt I was a bit worried because I didn't know what the future would hold.
Yeah.
I thought my career and everything just rested on my relationship, my past relationship, and I had to have nothing now. Didn't know who to turn to. Didn't want to tell my lads because I didn't want them to feel I'd let them down.
Yeah.
And so that time was for you to turn around and go, just come here, mate.
Yeah.
It was such a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And I imagine that was the same with Emma. Similar thing, like just come here.
Parents,
yeah.
You know, all of my friends, my best mate, Andy, like during the breakup, I lived with him and his wife. Mate, I mean, yeah, Andy and Ellie, who have a daughter now, Pearl, who's my goddaughter.
Yeah.
I owe them everything. You know, everyone. Yeah, my mum, dad, my sister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mate, I'm the same. I owe you everything. I owe you everything. I've had there was the SOS boys that took me in.
Yeah.
And went, you know, I'm like, I haven't got any money. And they were like, come work here, mate.
Yeah.
Until you get back on your feet. I had another, it was Sharon Much Laughter. She just went, yep, that's all right. Just you can just work for me.
Yeah.
And come and do this. There was people, lovely people just around and went, yeah, just hang out. It was Hannah that popped up and she went, yeah, let's just hang out. And you suddenly realise that you're not shit, despite what someone else thinks of you or is saying about you.
Yeah.
You're not a monster. You're actually all right. But because of how you feel about that person, you believe what they say. They go, oh, maybe I am a piece of shit. Maybe I am this. Because they're dealing with their own fucking bullshit, whatever that is. And
in those situations, I think you're never yourself, but you're a version. It's so hard because you're not. No one's a single sort of dynamic.
No,
you know, we're all capable of being bad people. We're all capable of being good people. Of
course we are.
We can all be funny. We can all be sad. We're a range of emotions and feelings and responses and reactions. Yeah. We spend too much time. Well, we spoke about this last night. I don't worry or don't care about what other people think of me. I worry about what I think other people think.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the thought of what someone else might think of you.
And then we were talking about the fact that people probably don't think about you much at all.
Well, they don't, because they're also so worried about the interaction they've had with you, because we all are. We're all concerned about that, you know.
Yeah.
Because you've really got to be some kind of, like, massive cunt. You really have. You've got to do something really, like, for someone to go, oh, for fuck's sake, that prick. You've got to do something really bad, so you'll know about it.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll know about it.
Having done that, then they go, yeah, you're a piece of shit. And then, you know, you come away from it and go, fuck, why did I do that?
Yeah.
Because you kind of go, fundamentally, I know I'm decent, so why have I fucking done that to that person? What's going on?
We all do little things along the way. Obviously.
Yeah.
There's little things along the way, but for someone just to purely only see you in that image, you've got to be a real monster.
You've got to be a real monster. And I think that's what you can take away from it all, is the fact that, like with me, wonderful people gathered round. Producer Paul used to get it in. Every time I turned up to record, I'd come in, you're right, I go, no, the fucking... and I'd just be sitting on that sofa there.
Yeah.
Just going off on one, and bless him, Paul's like, okay, so let's get recording. And I think it just goes to show you're not a monster, because you had lovely people around you to get you out. And
very lucky, because it was
you and I became like a little married couple.
We did.
It was so nice.
Yeah.
Like message her, like, all right, babes, what time are you going to be? I've got some milk. Don't worry, I've done this. I've done doing the washing up. Like, no, you've been at work all day, babes. I did it. It's all right.
And then if I came back and I was a bit sad, you'd say, "Do you want to play GoldenEye?
GoldenEye.
Should we do some killing?
Do some killing."
Yeah.
The other night we played football on Tuesday, and then we were sat like, I was back at yours because I was doing a gig in the evening. And then you were like, "Yeah, let's have a bit of killing." And then second game in, Paul realised, I was like, wasn't looking at me, he's just looking at the game. But my character just kept doing weird shit. And he's
just wandering
and
about.
and I'm like, "Oh, really sorry," I just nodded off. Like an old...
I was watching him through my sniper sight. Like, I'd found a little position like up high, and I'm just watching him wander about and like walk into walls. I'm like, "What's going on?" He's there just going, "Oh,
I was nodding off playing computer game.
I was just sleep.
I'm so old now.
Yeah.
Such an old,
that's what you
frail.
do.
I just nod off.
Yeah, it was like what? It was like
It was only
4 in the afternoon.
Yeah, and I was
time
having
for Grandad to have a little nap
in the middle of a computer game. Sorry, mate, I'm going to have to go and have a lie down.
He went and had a lie down. Too much stimulation for one day.
It was, yeah. But you're getting back out there. You're getting gigs again. You're getting funny again. You've got your missus in America.
I have. Very, very lucky now. It's a big turnaround from, being at a very, very low point. And everything, it's mad how much has come out of that situation and the people that were drawn to me in a really dark point in my life. Yeah. Because if it hadn't been for me working for Emma and her becoming such a good friend, and then us moving the shop from Covent Garden out to Islington, I wouldn't have met Andy and Scott, who were the couple that introduced me to Kaylee, my fiance. Kaylee and I, when we first met, it was at one of Emma's pubs. She runs pubs.
That's right, it was at the Prince.
Yeah, it was at the Plough.
Got the Plough, and then she got the Prince Arthur as well,
So Andy and Scott started off as clients of mine and Emma's. They new to the area, just moved over from the States and been recommended to come to us. We'd been recommended to them by their barber in New York who used to work with Emma. So then we became friends, and over sort of a 5-year period, them being very stereotypically gay New Yorkers, introduced me to every single one of their eligible female friends that came over to visit.
And what about this one? What about this one?
Then introduced me to Kaylee back in November 2019. And we really hit it off. But, like, nothing happened between us when she was over visiting, but we stayed in contact with each other, and it became apparent that, there was something more to it than just a friendship. And she invited me out to New York, so I flew out in March 2020.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, spent 2 weeks in New York, had the most incredible time. We went to go and see Ramesh Ranganathan was playing at the Soho Playhouse in New York. That was on our first full night in New York as well. Had the most amazing 2 weeks out there with her. Decided that we were going to give it a shot. Like, long distance was going to be difficult, but we were both pretty adamant that we felt the same way about each other. Yeah. And I think when you know. I know people say that, and it sounds really cheesy, but when you do, you really do.
You just hits you.
Yeah. And I flew back, and then lockdown. Yeah. And then we went through maybe nearly 2 years of me not being able to get into New York because there was a ban on Europe and the UK.
That's right. And then you were trapped in the flat with us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you had to be in the middle of our breakdown.
Yeah. And
then there was that one time we were trying to figure out how you two could have sex down the line. So there was someone else had found this sex toy that you could both enjoy whilst
remotely
looking at each other down Zoom. And
I think they connect via Bluetooth or something.
Yeah, it was something mad like that. And you're like, and then I'm like, now I look back, I'm like, wow, we were pretty fucked to think that was even a good idea. To suggest to a friend, what you want to do, you get yourself a fleshlight. She got some eggs.
Yeah.
And then a pair of you just press play on your laptop.
Did you organise this, Rich?
It wasn't me.
No, it wasn't.
Zoom.
Yeah, it's a rather.
No, this wasn't me. This was someone else who remained nameless.
Rather patronising suggestion from
a certain person
who shall not be named.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That we went.
Possibly my new romance needed electronic support.
IT
support. You need IT support for this relationship. I was like, we actually don't.
No,
we're okay. We're still...
The irony that you, even with that thousands of miles of distance, like you potentially could still have more sex than I was going to have.
Yeah. Also, the cost of those things. It was a lockdown. I wasn't working.
No, I know.
haven't got 250 quid to spend on an orgasm.
I think the intentions were pure, I think. I don't fucking know.
I don't know.
Who knows? That was a weird time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Strange time.
But we made it through that.
We did. And
no, not me and you.
Oh, you did? That's it. Lovely. Yeah, and now we lived together. Yeah. No, you did.
No, and I was fortunate that Kaylee could still get over here and made it over. I think we did a year of zero contact in real life, but a lot of FaceTime. And we still, I don't think there's been a day we've known each other for over 3 years now. I don't think there's been a single day where we haven't messaged each other. Every morning it's good morning, and multiple times throughout the day we tell each other we love each other.
Mate.
Like, I know that she's 3,500 miles away, but it's one of the most successful relationships I've ever had.
Maybe that's it. When you actually eventually get to be together properly, you should only talk to each other through iPads.
Well, we're worried about this. Like, when eventually we get to the point where we get married and we're living together, we're gonna have to try and orchestrate a way where we only see each other for 2 weeks out of every 3 months.
You have to fuck off for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But you'll figure out. You adapt.
Yeah, big house.
3,000 miles between each room.
Sleep in separate rooms in separate postcodes.
It's what we're used to.
It's just what we're used to. Yeah.
But you're still at ELP and and honestly, mate, every time people say to me, "Oh, where'd you get your hair cut?" I'm like, "Fucking Sweeney cut it." And then they went, "Your barber's called Sweeney?" And I went, "Oh yeah, I didn't even get it."
We spoke about this at the gig the other night because Angela was like, "Oh my god."
I've been doing comedy 19 years.
Yeah.
And it took me to this now to go, "Oh yeah."
Well, the whole reason I got into barbering, because I was cutting hair for friends, but then the one and only idea I'd had for a show that I hadn't come up with while I was with Lisa Thomas Management was a show called Sweeney's Cutting the Fringe, where I was going to give comedians haircuts and just chat to them at the Edinburgh Fringe. But I couldn't cut hair professionally. I had no background in it. So that's why I took the money that I was going to spend on an Edinburgh show. And then that went, on barbering.
Yeah, right.
And
that's it.
And then we filmed the pilot for it, but it didn't go anywhere. But I just ended up getting a job in a barbershop and cutting hair, and then. But
you're really good at it, and you've ended up cutting the hair to the stars, Castor.
All the stars, all of them.
Gamble,
Castor, Gamble, Lycett,
Ruffle,
all the stars,
all of them.
Jim Campbell,
Domit. Did you ever do Domits?
Yeah, early doors. Joel used to come to the academy where I was training, the barbering school. Yeah, and then I gave him home cuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was one of the ones during the lockdown when you, via Zoom, you taught Joe Lycett how to shave his head.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember that.
Mummy gave herself a haircut. Yeah, that was funny.
Oh, mate, I'm glad we did this.
Me too.
I wanted, because I talk about you a lot. I've mentioned you on various things, and I'm just like, we wanted the man, the myth, the legend.
Thanks.
Come on, because you have got an interesting story.
Yeah.
And I've got to be honest, I haven't been in your flat since I've moved out. Even though, like we said yesterday, it still feels like my room.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It will always be your room.
I'm haunting it.
Yeah.
You might want to change the sheets.
Pop a little plaque up. Yeah, I do need to give them a while. I'm waiting for you to come back and
I'll come and do it. I'll do it. I'll be back. I'm next week, so I'll do it next week.
You're so sweet, because whenever you come over, sometimes I work quite long days at the shop, and a lot of the time I'm there, or if I'm not there, I'm just not at home very much. Or if I am at home, then I'm normally sleeping. And I forget to do, because it's just me now, I forget to do the bins or the washing up, and you'll come and stay and the bins have been taken out.
Yeah.
The washing up. It's never like, I don't want people to think I'm
you're not
living like a pig.
No, it's not.
It's like the bin is full and needs to be taken
down. I imagine it's like, I'll do it at some point. And then I see it, I'm like, I'm going to do that because I appreciate you letting me stay.
Yeah.
I do, and I know he likes the washing up done. When he comes in, he's like, that's
boy.
nice. I'm a great partner.
You are. You're a great boy. She's a lucky woman, your wife.
She bloody is, mate. You have no idea. Yeah. Oh, this has been great. Thanks, Paul. Where can we find you on the socials, mate?
I'm still clinging on to Comedy Sween.
Well, you're getting back out there.
I'm
You just
getting back
got
out
to get
there.
out your own way.
I'm trying to live up to that handle.
Yeah,
Comedy Sween on Instagram and Twitter as well, but I just don't use it anymore. No. For no other reason, like I just don't like it. But it's still there, so you can follow it if you want.
Yeah, it's a bit of a bin fire, isn't it, Twitter? Well, I use it for this and the occasional. I get a bit of an inspiration and tweet something, but it's a tricky one. But yeah, I'm glad we did this.
Shitting into the void.
Yeah, like everyone else. Yeah. Lovely. Oh, nice. All right, thanks, mate.
Thank you.
That's been lovely.
Insane in the membrane.